Okay, so everything you see on this table here is airsoft related. All these guns, if we want to call it that, are airsoft training stuff. And a lot of people want to know, hey man, what can I train with? I don't have a range where I can go and do high speed, low drag, run and gun. Maybe you've got a firearm restriction. You're underage. You had some legal trouble or something like that. The VA declared you one thing or another. I don't know. But if you're in a non-permissive situation, you can still train with airsoft. The other thing is, if you're running training courses and you're unsure of the skill levels on the people you're dealing with, or you don't have a lot of time, you don't want to invest a lot of money into the initial stages of the training, especially for just really basic handling and really basic familiarization and marksmanship, you may not want to waste live ammo on that, because live ammo has become very expensive. Realize you can have initial stages of training just with airsoft, and you get a lot done with this stuff. Back at the peak of my shooting and my training and my skills, I was burning easily 1,000 rounds a month of live ammo. When I went to a couple of high-speed, low-drag training courses, I knew that I was going to be shoulder to shoulder with some other people in the range that were Navy SEAL, Delta Force, higher-end law enforcement tactical type stuff, and I needed to hold my own. And I had a situation where the local shooting range was a little bit restrictive on run and gun, and they were a little hostile. You know, like if you showed up with a tactical vest, started doing rapid mag changes in a pistol caliber carbine or something, they were filing with police reports. Okay, there's a lot of stuff you just can't do at a regular shooting range that you need to get up to speed with if you're going to go and do some higher end tactical training. So I made up for the gap with airsoft. I was still training live ammo. But the thing is, you know, one of these bags is a few thousand rounds. So if you're going to be keeping, okay, yeah, that's 4,000 rounds, I believe. If you're going to be keeping your skills up and you're not able to do that with live ammo, you can close the gap on your monthly round count by keeping your skills up with airsoft. And build up a lot of skills as far as your draw techniques, using different holsters. A lot of these things are going to use, sometimes you'll get the same accessories as a regular firearm. This one has a Crimson Trace laser grip, which allows me to make sure my point aiming is still indexing correctly. Even a little bit oddball stuff, like this HK USB compact. We can practice manipulating that decocker safety mechanism. It's also found on some Taurus pistols. You can really get up to speed with that stuff. It's not a total replacement for live fire training, but it's a way to go. And when I'm doing demonstration videos, I want to add that layer of safety by just using airsoft. For martial arts training, though, a lot of these things aren't going to be as durable as a regular firearm. And they're not going to be as durable as, let's just say, a straight up plastic rubber duck gun. Especially the case of these rifles. These are not made, even though it's aluminum and it feels like regular firearm metal, it's not. There's a weak point right here. These things can break in half. The airsoft store where I go to, on a, you know, I go there every few months. They have a few where they were just straight up broken off as a demonstration, and they actually have to sell spare receivers to replace ones that are broken. Now some of them have gone with the monolithic design that's less likely to break. On this one, I had an extra night rail handguard laying around from one of my regular rifles that I no longer own. And so I put this on here and bridge the gap right here so that I have a bolt-on point front and rear. And that kind of builds this up a little bit. Some people might be wondering what the law and what the situation is with red tips on the guns, or if you need to have any special color designation. In order for the guns to be sold here in the United States, they have to have the red tip. There's no legal obligation to keep that on there after you own it. That's why in the foreign market guns, you'll see that they just have the regular top end. It's going to look like a regular firearm in almost every way. There's a lot of times if I pick something up, I'm not even going to know if it's a regular firearm or not unless I'm almost ready to shoot it and check and see if the there's live ammo around. The thing is that what people will do, like the kid who had this, was, and I bought that from him. I mean, that was how that rolled. Is they can replace the top end like this Beretta. It's actually a polymer top end. They can replace it with a metal one, and the metal replacement may not have the red tip. Other people paint it over. Now, one of the reasons we wouldn't do that with NATO weapons and training in military bases is because the training weapon colors had been reset to be blue. And that was decisions made back in the 1960s. The reason not to use red was because red was kind of the universal designator for tracers and incendiary stuff. Although I've been able to find this red muzzle cap, or I don't know if it's a muzzle cap or what, but we can put that on there just for demonstration and purposes, safety purposes. Although there is no legal obligation to leave that black. If you're training another non-permissive environment you need to look at is if you're overseas. If you're doing executive protection work, security work overseas, there can be extremely restrictive rules on the amount of training you can do, the type of training you can do, the availability of ammunition for training. And in most of those countries that have all of those extreme restrictions on regular firearms and ammunition, quite often don't have those same restrictions on the airsoft, which means if you have a team, especially for fixed location security, you can get familiar, you can war game your location with the airsoft guns, get an idea where the good cover points are, where the good ambush points are, where the good defensive points are. Over in the UK, there was one PMC company that was doing executive security in Iraq. They did absolutely no firearm live fire training before leaving the UK. Once they got to, I think it was Kuwait or Jordan, they did some live fire training. They were deploying people into the field with only airsoft training, let's say within the last 5 years or so. A lot of their people were prior law enforcement or military, but in the UK, a lot of their military people only saw live ammo once a year. So in the course of a 3 to 6 year career, they did less live fire training than the average child of an American serviceman probably has experience with. But they deployed, they got their job done because they did a lot of extensive training with live firearms. And a lot of their people would find places, usually Jordan, Kuwait, the United States, to go and make up that gap on the live gun training. A lot of your regular accessories, like I said, are going to work. Your holsters, usually, not always, going to work. Like here in this M4, push button sling arrangement. For whatever reason, it won't seem to plug into the back of this Magpul stock. And this is one of the Magpul items that's specifically for airsoft. Functionally, it's very similar to a regular, I think it's the MOE stock, but at the back, the openings are a little bit different because some of the airsoft guns have a battery compartment back here, and it's set up to be able to access that. The sights, usually really damn similar, but I guess the Magpul airsoft gun sights, it's all plastic. Whereas on the regular firearm ones, I guess some of the littler parts, the aperture stuff, are still metal. But that varies from maker to maker. One thing I really like about this particular model is, let's see if I can find a magazine with a little gas in it. Kind of hard to hold the camera and the magazine at the same time, but we got this thing. I'm going to set the camera down for a second. We're back. Okay, so one of the problems I run into with this type of thing is I put an ambi mag release on here and it's a little buggy. I got to do some shaving so that the mag release works with that thing on shoving a mag in quickly. But here we can do controlled burst, full automatic. Now the cycle rate slows down as the magazine runs out of gas, but there's a, you know, we can regas the mags and all that kind of stuff. The magazines for these tend to get really expensive. A lot of technology involved, but again, if you're doing a lot of training, it's worth it because the ammo is obviously going to be very cheap. It's not totally for free, very cheap. So we're on to the next video, but this will clarify that everything I'm demonstrating in these upcoming videos is going to be with Airsoft. We're going to have that extra level of safety. We have the legal protection. If somebody happens through when we're doing point and quick draw, nobody's going to say it was a brandishing incident. This is all Airsoft stuff.